Got some, hope everybody had a nice summer. Now we're back to work. Okay, we got proposition number one is a authorizing sale of beer and wine to St. Anthony and St. Agnes Church. Name and sponsor, St. Anthony and St. Agnes Church. Name of event, St. Cosmos and Domenica Feast. Date of event, Saturday, September 28th, 2024, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Date of event, Sunday, September 29th, 2024, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Location, St. Anthony and St. Agnes Church, 422 Tilden Ave, Utica, New York. Any questions, any problems? If not, we'll go on to the second piece. Proposed resolution number 2, Commissioner of Deeds for Nadine Majet, 1004 Dudley Ave, Utica, New York, 13501. Do you have her information as far? Any questions? No questions? Go on to proposition number 3, resolution number. It's another Commissioner of Deeds for Ingrid Quino? Casino, 919 Cherry Street, Utica, New York. Again, I'm assuming you have the proper information. Great. Any questions? We'll go on to number 4, which is authorizing sale of beer and wine to Taylor and the Cook. Name of the sponsor, Taylor and the Cook. New York State Wine Spotlight. Date of event, Sunday, September 28th, 2024, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Location, Bag Square Tavern Park, 301 Main Street, Utica, New York, 13501. Any questions, any problems? Okay, let's go on to next piece of business, which is authorizing sale of beer and wine to the Bank of Utica. Name of sponsor, Bank of Utica, FF Max Fury, Bank of Utica's New Year's Eve party. Event Tuesday, December 31st, 2007, 7 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. Wednesday, January 1st, 2025. Location, Genesee Street between Debrick Street and Bank Place. Any questions, any problems? Nope. Okay. The next one looks like a E&A transfer from City Hall maintenance wages, $39,208. From City Hall maintenance overtime, $2,500. Parkway drugs rec salaries, $44,737. 2 Parkway rec salaries or wages at $39,208. To OT, $2,500, and to a police administration division salary of $44,737. Any questions on this? If not, we'll go on to the next piece. The next piece is proposition.
I had a question on that. Why was the City Hall maintenance wages so high? Did they change it? Did they close that out or something? Or did they get rid of the department because they're moving it, all that over?
I can't comment on it being higher. The purpose for the transfer is to move the labor that on the budget line that's in City Hall, who's actually
Did they move
at
over
the
there,
rec
or?
center. He was already over there.
Okay.
But on the budget, it's reflecting like that individual is working here.
I think he's been there for a while.
Are they
Yeah.
gonna actually move them over?
He's been.
I'm talking about the actual position.
Yeah, I was just coming out of the City Hall wages all this time, so now we're fixing
They
that.
shorted me, they should be. Yes.
I'm just making sure.
Terrible.
It's real clean in here, yeah?
Ready?
You all set?
Thank you.
Proposed ordinance number 7, sponsored by Councilmember Aiello, an ordinance to rename Liberty Bell Park to the Lafayette Square.
Yeah, this one came, I think Bob Hines emailed us all a couple months back, so just kind of in light of that, I just put up the legislation. Would love full council if people were in favor of this. And that's all I have.
Sure, the only question I have is what actually happened to the old Liberty Bell? Does
I
anybody
have
know?
it.
So do they have any,
I have it in my office.
do they have any chance to, I mean, not for nothing, here's the thing, and I think that even in looking at Paul Mary's administration, obviously he put together some Utica signs. Obviously he didn't dedicate a park to him, but I think if you were to move those signs, Ed Hanna did do that. And I feel like just to take away that part, and whether you consider it history or not. just
Well,
to
I guess
maybe-
they did want to give it to historical and they refused it. So I have it, so if any, I don't know what,
And it only came with the question because we did put in for the DRI funding, and in the original plans for that DRI funding, the Liberty Bell was supposed to remain along with the fountains. I looked up an article, it was through WKTV a couple of years ago, and I just didn't know what the purpose was that through the DRI project in order to keep that and maintain that and preserve that in that area.
going
So I
back.
don't wanna forget that component,
But
whether you
going
like
back
that
to
hand
the
or not, I
plaque,
mean, that's.
The
that's all.
plaque, there was misspelling on the plaque. I don't know where the plaque went, but I know the family that was with, something to do with the family last year came to me with the sign department and said that there was misspelling. They wanted it redone. So I don't know, they took it off when they took off the bell. I don't know where the plaque went, but I do have the bell.
So could
Do
you
you
ever?
want the bell?
No.
No.
I'm just asking, could you ever call this General LaFay's Park at Liberty Bell Park, or come up with something and keep both?
I mean, that would kind of be something, just so that we're not taking away both, I mean, you could still kind of add both historic
It's a
components
great
to it.
thing.
So if I can speak up about the district and how many people have just wanted the bell removed from that area, if you want to see the real one, you can go to Philadelphia. It's a piece of styrofoam.
No,
and-
I get, nobody's saying that.
Right,
but,
I think there's a
mean,
lot of great places for it to
It was
go.
still erected and the park's still named after that, so whether you want to take away that part of the
I
history,
don't-
the park was named after that.
I don't think, there's a lot of people in favor to switch it over. So,
I don't know, I didn't
Brian,
talk-
I don't know
I
if
didn't
you.
talk to anybody, Katie, this is the first time that I've got this legislation.
Sure,
Other
that's,
than-
I'm just sharing.
Councilman.
You're up.
Is it working? Is it working?
Yep.
So historically, if you look at the Hotel Utica, there's a big bronze plaque that was donated by the DAR back in the 20s, and it's got a little roof on top of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so historically, I know there was buildings there at one time, just like General Butterfield was born right down in the same spot. But the DAR and the SAR and the Historical Society, what they want to do is commemorate over 200 plus years the anniversary of Lafayette's visit. So you're gonna have reenactors. It's gonna be a big deal, I think, from now on for them, because they don't wanna have a venue. I could just see French flags and American flags flying down in that area. That's how I look at it. But historically, it's the right thing to do. Historically, this is not someone's made up history. This is historic, and it should be valued. I mean, it's downtown Utica.
No, I don't disagree with that, but it was also, this park was named that, we're changing the park. Just
Well,
keep
I
the
mean,
preservation of the park.
You
That's
got
all.
Eileen Hanna's Park down there.
We got Hannah Park outside, I mean, let's change that too.
Yeah.
Put the Liberty Bell there, and if that's who designated the Liberty Bell, then we might as well restore it and put it there. That's all I was saying, I wasn't sure,
All right.
this is the first time I've had this.
You couldn't do both though? You couldn't put the bell there and call it there?
People do not want the bell there.
I don't know who people are.
Okay, every time you say names in here, people get thrown under the bus, and honestly, go ahead and take any poll. Trust me, people don't want it there. In fact, when it was gone, they rejoiced. You can look online. No offense to the bell, like I said, go to Philadelphia, check out the real one, or we can place this someplace else.
I did get a call from the Historical Society asking me if we can do this. And I said, sure. I mean, they're on board with the whole
Right.
process.
So it's gone
And that's
to
the
them?
Historical Society. They're on board.
Throw the bell out.
Good.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, very good. Let's move on to
For
the,
my backyard, Mark?
we'll move on to the next piece. Proposed resolution number 8 is calling for a hearing on the sale of lots of 123 to 125 Leah Street. Councilman Irvin, are you okay with that?
I
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I
This
get a water.
conversation was going on for a
I
couple
got
months.
you one in my car.
think, where they didn't actually want 125,
I'm gonna go get the bell.
but we explained to them that we could do.
So,
This is-
I'm going to ask
can't-
this.
Yeah,
Is
go
that-
ahead.
Is that why it's $251?
That's why, because,
Because they did a 250 as an original lot and added the $1 in for the other component of 125? Okay.
it's a pretty big lot, so.
You know, this is another thing that I actually have a question for urban renewal. I know with the court case, and Brian, I don't know if you can answer this or anybody from urban renewal can answer this, but obviously with the court decision, you can no longer utilize those funds as, Ed, are you all right over there? What's going on? You might as well throw away that chair with the Liberty Bell. Give it to Mark Sokolowski, he'll take it. Put it in the back of the Parks Department garage.
That's coming out of UPD budget.
You gotta transfer it first. Make sure it's in the line. With the obviously the funds that we can no longer recoup as we normally do, with urban renewal and trying to buy back, whatever. With that said, has the urban renewal agency reconsidered the purchase amount for some of these lots rather than 250 and making them a little higher of a value, knowing that we can no longer recoup those funds as like a cushion for a balance inside an account?
Honestly, Councilwoman, at this point, given the U.S. Supreme Court case that was decided last year, a lot of things are up in flux right now as far as not only URA sales, but also city auctions. So we're working closely with Corporation Counsel's office. They're working with other municipal governments across New York State as well as the county and trying to figure out the best way to move forward.
I mean, I guess, and obviously we want to sell properties, we want them back in the tax roll, but should we put like kind of like a stall on that until we can kind of come up with a game plan rather than selling these properties for $250, knowing that we could possibly have
Honestly, there's a sort of a self-imposed stall anyway, because right now, the latest round of foreclosures that the city did is still waiting a Supreme Court judge's signature. And with recent issues with Supreme Court justices, there's a backlog. So we may not even take title to the latest round of foreclosures until later this year. We're sold out of houses.
Okay,
So
well, that's what I said, I mean.
these are a few lingering lots that you're seeing come before you every once in a
Are
while.
they grandfathered into the actual ruling, or is
No.
it, so these actually are founded under that rule as well?
I guess there's a lot of things up in the air, and I mean, Brian is frustrated, I'm frustrated. We don't have clear answers to anyone about anything. But even, not even grandfathered in, I mean, there's also a possibility it could go back 3 or more years.
So then
that
what-
they could recoup those funds.
Well, that's
And
what
we
I'm,
don't have- we don't
and I
have-
guess that goes back to my
So there's-
original point, like,
so there's-
should we caution on selling lots for
We're-
250, knowing that we could possibly owe that amount?
So there's a number of things with that. We have trouble getting people to buy lots for more than that amount of money. We've kind of as Brian said, self-imposed, like a holding period of not selling anything else.
Well, not for nothing, I mean, we
But
actually did.
there's an internal discussion about not only the process going forward, but what is URA gonna look like, what is our procedure gonna look like? So there's a lot of things that are up in the air that I don't have the answer to. But as far as the funds, I mean, we're not changing the process right now because we may do other things in the future. I mean, we're cautious about not recouping those funds, but again,
And the one thing we are doing is putting in escrow all the funds that we do receive from any sales right now.
Just
And
keeping
have been
them
doing
into-
that since
Well, I mean,
May of last year.
we had so many properties at one point that we started the initiative of the $250 sale of lots so that people would purchase them, because we had so many lots, and it's like you thought you did that, you were doing yourself a favor by trying to get them on the tax roll, and eventually think that they could end up hurting you. So I guess that was kind of my question.
part of
you
the
know.
issue with the lots is sometimes not always, but sometimes, there were lots that houses were on them that we've demoed.
Yeah,
And the
right.
amount of back taxes on those lots, people are not gonna be willing to pay the amount of money to recoup those funds. So it's not just, oh, we have a vacant lot that's only worth, $1,500. Some of these lots may have had a house on them and may have $15,000 of back taxes owed, and no one's gonna pay that amount.
Well,
Then
one
we
of
can
my
get that back.
one of my arguments was when originally with URA is that I always thought that the funds that we sold the properties for, the city should have sourced it out and actually fixed the properties themselves and then sold it for the property amount. And
Well,
I know
actually,
that
that's one of the things the mayor, when he came into office, was thinking of doing until.
until this decision
Supreme
came. But
Court.
that was, I mean, I thought that was always something that we should have did. Obviously, that's up in the air, and I know he always appreciated that component to this. But that's all I was saying, is that
So-
just making sure that us selling these, we're
So-
not hurting ourselves continuously in the future of having to pay
We've-
back any prior taxes and so on and so forth.
We've, like I said, we've kind of self-imposed, and we have been in constant discussion. There's a couple other things we're trying to work out before we make it to figuring out what the actual process is gonna be. But as Brian said, we don't really have a lot of properties. You're probably gonna see, I would say, slim to none in the next 5 months anyways.
And the other question that I have is, obviously, a new URA board is under second-class cities law, obviously being established in a municipality. Has the state legislators stated anything that they want to do as far as abolishing the URA, or have they just kind of been to the wayside in
Not as
any
of
of
yet,
their?
no, not that I'm aware of.
No.
Well, and the only reason that I asked that is because I always personally thought that we should have expanded our horizon through the URA board rather than going to city auction, kind of giving everybody the opportunity to, well, the URA the opportunity to actually purchase back those properties, to not just somebody from outside the area. We could always have that control. I mean, obviously, you would have to deem a neighborhood to be low income and so on and so forth, but I thought that was the best way to go. So, I mean, obviously, it's very unfortunate, and I think that, this ruling, I'm pretty sure it'll probably be in litigation for quite some time, but obviously moving forward, this is probably the last of the properties that we'll have for quite some time then, is essentially what
In
you're
all
saying.
likelihood, yes.
Yes.
What was the last meeting that you actually had for URA?
I think it was the one where these were sold.
So this was the
But I mean,
August
it's-
27th. Did the
I mean,
decision
it's-
come after or prior to that?
No, the decision came May of 2023.
But you just didn't know
So-
eventually what the,
Yeah, I mean, we've been holding the funds since then. We should probably say we really haven't sold that many houses. A lot of it is lots. We just don't have the amount and inventory that we used to. And like you said, we don't have that right now.
no.
And
They won't know until that, and I'm sorry, Stephanie, and what Jack's asking is that going back those 3 years. And this is
they could
another
go back
reason.
3 years
So-
from May
We looked
20.
at what
So,
we would hope we did.
so here's part of the
No,
problem,
but it won't
that
be.
if during budget season, we knew that this was a possible outcome when we wanted to use the URA funds to cover the city budget. So technically, if we use the URA funds inside the city budget, we would be short those amount of funds plus an additional amount of funds that we don't know what we could possibly owe
So, yeah,
through
so
that.
So just to clarify, we have been reserving funds and holding those in escrow, so anything past May of 2023, we are in a good spot, and we will litigate those and deal with those as they come about. Anything prior to that, which we have gotten claims for, we are fighting those as our multiple municipalities. We don't know what the outcome is. No one knows what the outcome is gonna be, but we have that risk, and I mean, if you look at just on a general scale, I mean, in the last year, we have what, approximately how much in escrow? From,
Oh, I don't know the figures. Kathy's been handling.
I don't know but we have a decent amount in escrow.
Let me.
No. That's gonna cover the houses that we
That
sold.
we sold.
Back to May of
Yeah,
last year.
back to May of last year.
Going forward, I mean, this is why the agency and what the purpose of the agency is up in the air is, theoretically, it could bankrupt the agency. It could bankrupt
Municipality,
cities
it's- yeah.
and
right.
other towns and villages.
villages.
So there's a lot going on. I mean, we're fighting it.
And bear in mind-
Generally speaking, urban renewal agencies are under second-class cities laws. So the majority of these rulings only affect cities inside New York State and whoever else had an urban renewal agency.
And bear in mind, this affects not only sales made through the urban renewal agency, but it also affects all sales through city auction.
So let me ask a question this, and I actually, this just came up in talking, I might sound crazy even saying this, but I'm not 100% sure, but I'll put this out there.
And just before you do that, I probably should say, there's a lot to this that is just a lot to unpack and follow. So if the board wants an actual, or excuse me, the council wants an actual update, I'd be more than happy to do that and go over stuff, because there's a lot of questions that I don't have a lot of the answers, but it's very intricate.
I just
So-
have one question.
Sure. can I-
Councilman
just
Williamson's got the floor.
Before I forget, I'm not done yet.
Okay.
Just please, because this is actually
I
very
just hate to-
important.
I hate to
And,
waste
and I don't, but this is kind of an important question that I have, and whether it's relevant or not. So what about the city properties that we sold for auction that we've had to, let's say, forgive
If it's a-
taxes on?
If it's a city property that we have owned that has not been something we foreclosed on, that does not apply. But if it's a city property, so I'm gonna just use examples. If Kennedy Garage was sold to the hospital,
Mhm.
and they lost it for whatever reason, and we got it back, and we tried to sell it, it would be a tax foreclosed property. They'd be title to the surplus. That's with everything. So, but it doesn't apply to, again, this is not a good example, but if we were gonna sell Hannah Park, we could do that because it's not something that we foreclosed on.
So, and I guess that's my question. So like, you know, obviously, the properties with back taxes, we've had to forego on those taxes. Like, we have a contingency in our fund through our tax base that we lose property tax value on and property revenue. So do we have the opportunity to go back after the banks to take whatever money that they were recouping over those 3 years, to come back to the municipality, knowing that they were receiving those funds and we had to forego on those taxes? Because they did receive a lot of money during a certain amount of time when they had the housing crisis of the monies that they were receiving. I mean, I don't know if that's an option that the city actually has, but it might be something that we could look at. And like I said, I don't know if I was crazy saying that, but we've lost a lot of money over the years in houses that we've had to forego and loss of tax revenue. I don't know if that's something the same, but it might be an argument that you could possibly use going forward. I don't know, but that's something that I know that we've lost a lot of money on, you know, and obviously we keep that component in our budget, and I don't know. Maybe it's something that the city could use. I don't know if they
Yeah.
can. It was just something that I thought of, and thank you for letting me keep my point, but just
Councilman
something to think about.
Williamson?
All right, so the question I know I asked you about 10 years ago, I think. When you sell the property, they have 1 year to do what they say they're gonna do, correct?
In most cases. In some extreme cases, they may ask for more time in the board.
Okay, so I mean,
Can't
does
give
somebody
that.
actually go out there and check the property that it's actually got done in a year? I know they show you figures that they can do it, but, you know, we sell these lots somewhere just full of woods and everything else, and a year later, it still hasn't been cleared. And that's why you see sometimes people grab properties to speculate, thinking that something's gonna go there, and they can just sell it, you know, with a bigger price. Is that happening? Do we have a list to actually, we follow up
Yeah.
every year? We have a list?
Yes, and Gene Allen is
So we can get
the
a
sole
copy of
employee
that?
of the urban renewal agency.
I mean, have we
Yeah,
ever
we
take
check.
properties back, like Blessed
So-
Sacrament?
So,
We have
so we
that?
have been trying,
We had 3 or 4.
The problem that I'll help Stephanie with is that usually we give a certificate of completion for the majority of the time. After that certificate of completion, what they said they would do, sometimes that lapses after that certificate of completion
Like
is
we sold
done.
Blessed
So-
Sacrament originally, right?
Yes. No, it's for us now. That was a private sale. But that guy
We
held
own a
on to
portion of
the,
it now.
You own a portion of it.
he held on to
We
the
don't own the entire school, and we don't own
parking lot.
the parking lot. The school was split in half for some reason.
So he paid taxes on the parking lot and on the school, but
Yeah.
didn't pay it on the church
Did we
or
own
the
the gym?
rectory. So that's why we received that.
Gym, church, and rectory, yes, we're marketing it. There's no guarantee, and there's been some concern in the neighborhood that we're gonna sell it. There's no guarantee that we're gonna sell it. We were approached by several churches that were interested in purchasing it, and URA policy calls for each property to be marketed for a minimum of 30 days to allow any number of people to come to the table. It avoids the appearance that we're just selling to one person, quick sale, without letting anybody else be aware of the sale. So we're required to market it for 30 days, so that's what we're doing right now, is
the
marketing.
board is not required to,
So I've
is
got-
not required to accept any application.
And as of yet, we haven't received any applications.
So the other question about Blessed Sacrament, because people are asking me about it, you know, I said, why don't you just, you know, get a grant like we do at Roosevelt School? I know we got some money from that. Took down Roosevelt School and then built bungalows, you know, looks just like the houses on St. Jane and St. Vincent.
It's one possibility that I'm
Find a
considering.
developer and-
We used nearly $1 million in community development block grant, CDBG funds, to demolish Roosevelt.
But, I mean,
It's a
could that be
possibility.
marketed to a developer to, you know, put 15 houses there and it'd be on the tax rolls?
And I took a look at it, it's not large enough for 15.
Well, I'm just,
But-
10 maybe, you know, but.
Or whatever, any property value
possible.
that could be back on the
But
tax
with
roll.
the price of construction these days, with construction costs being what they are, it's unlikely, and we're looking at this with the same issue with St. Elizabeth's reuse. It's unlikely we're gonna be able to get a sale price that'll match
What
the
you're
how, the cost of constructing a single-family home. So there's gonna have to be some sort of a subsidy by the city to any developer.
So you could actually make people's yards in St. Jane or St. Vincent bigger if they wanted to buy it, if you couldn't do it. But it just keeps on getting broken in and it becomes it's been an eyesore for how many years now?
Brian, can I piggyback off of Mark for a second? Because he kind of makes a valid point. Why aren't we looking at like somebody like a People First? And instead of them applying for multiple housing units, apply for those, talk to the state, talk to the federal government about applying for those housing credits more for that single family home. I mean, because let's look at like even, what are they redoing now? Is it Adrian Terrace that they have to rehouse everybody? So there's been a house on where, let's say my family's house in the corner of Conkling and Arthur, that's been there for how long? So now you've got a 2-family home that's been there since, I don't know, let's say, I'll give it 80 years. Adrian Terrace was built how long ago? I mean, those individual homes last longer than the, let's say, Adrian Terrace does. I mean, obviously there's more apartment complexes, but the whole complex of it. I mean, why aren't they looking at doing something like that to utilize those funds for longer value
And
of the
People First is
houses?
moving into market rate housing. They just recently applied for site plan approval and got approval from the planning board for a housing,
I'm not too happy about it, but yeah.
behind Parkway Drugs
Yeah.
on Eagle Street, Albany. I did reach out to People First.
Actually, because the neighbors are actually happy about it. But I mean, I'm just saying individually, I don't like their housing style of the way that their housing looks. I think that they should go back to a more original design concept rather than having that, you know, rather than having the Adrian Terrace type look or the Humphrey Gardens type look. I personally believe that it should go back to those individual home ownership homes, and I've always had this argument, and you know that I'm not just saying that because who's there.
Last time where they didn't put a driveway in front of you.
Mr. Chairman, if we
But-
could, Mr. Chairman,
But
if we
that's,
could
but
call
that's
for
all
a
I'm
committee
saying,
meeting
so
on this
I didn't,
and
I didn't know.
we're back to the
But,
pre-meeting?
I mean, we haven't had a committee meeting in like 6 months, so if everybody's here, so can we just please finish the conversation we have a half hour left with nonsense on the agenda.
Can we
So
finish the
we have a
nonsense
decent
on the
we have
agenda
a
first
decent
and then-
conversation going on. Can
and then
we
get
finish
back
it here,
to
please?
the actual committee meeting?
Yeah, well.
Can we
we'll
finish
try-
it here?
We'll try to wrap it up.
Thank you, okay.
To your point, I did reach out to People First when Blessed Sacrament was put on the market. They're aware that the city didn't foreclose on everything, and they weren't interested at the time, unless the city owned the parking lot and the entire school.
And Brian, can we just, for the record, when there was committee systems, me and you met a lot more than just, you know, the first Wednesday of the month, so maybe we should possibly go back to those, because we actually had more fluent discussions than once every 6 months, so thank you for clarifying that.
Whatever you'd like.
I guess we can go on to the next subject now.
Right.
The next one is proposed resolution number 10. It's a sale of lot number 319.55-1-22 Patelli Ave for $650, $250 for URA, and $400 in back taxes.
I'm so sorry, and this will be the last question that I have, but just very briefly, I know on Pelletary Ave, we've had some issues with UPD. I know that some of the call logs have been going in, that they've had issues on several houses. Does the Urban Renewal Agency still check with codes and the police department on issues with homeowners and their properties to make sure that these are not?
The applicants?
Yes, you want me to tell you about this one?
No, I mean, I'm
So
not
I
saying,
can-
and
so not-
I'm
we
not
do
saying
not-
that this property in particular, so I'm just saying in general, but I was just something that I was thinking,
We
so.
do check for codes violations. I don't know necessarily that we're checking how many times the police have been called or anything like that, or any nuisance related issues.
So we used to, I mean, when we actually used to have our nuisance abatement, I mean, you're talking probably 10 years ago now, Brian, that when the urban renewal agent started, we had some issues with some property owners that weren't from the area, couldn't get in contact with them. And because we couldn't get in contact with the property owner, there really weren't that many codes violations because it actually correlated with the police department more than it did codes issues. So again, I know urban renewal agencies at a standstill, so I mean, maybe something bringing up in the near future that if they do have nuisance issues with the actual tenants and involve the property owner in the near future, maybe that's something that we should look at. That was all, and I totally forgot that. Obviously, that's not going to be a concern for quite some time, but that was it. I didn't know, Joe, if you want to explain with this property.
It's Katie's, but Katie, what do you know about this? What happened here?
No, if you can explain it, if you were at the meeting.
You don't know about it? It's in your district? No? Okay, well, what happened here?
You were at the URA meeting.
Yeah. went into foreclosure, Mr. Thomas, or if you want to explain it, if I'm wrong, explain it and jump in, but it was set up wrong when it was set up. There was no driveway for the house, so we sold them half of it back, and the other people tried to buy the house, and we split it so they could have a driveway. Short, make it short and sweet, basically, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so.
So that's why it's for 650 plus the back taxes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
That makes
Yeah.
sense, thank you, that was my
That's exactly,
question.
they were gonna lose everything,
That was
they
my
kept their
question.
lot, they actually lost half, and the other
Thank-
people got a driveway.
Thank you, that makes
We're there to
sense.
please everybody.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. So I skipped one, I'm sorry. I skipped proposed ordinance number 9. We're gonna place that into committee.
Yeah, yeah.
Number 9 is included, all right.
Number 11, we're gonna place that in committee.
Yep.
Number 12 is the calling for a public hearing of the sale of the, is this a different lot?
It relates to the same lot that we just sold. It was the other portion that was subdivided out.
Oh, it's okay, because we had a subdivided meeting.
Okay,
Correct.
so on this one, we're gonna get $250 and no back taxes.
Correct.
There could be back taxes, they didn't know.
Because the other person
Okay.
had a, he had the back tax.
Okay, very
I don't mean
good.
to laugh. No, I don't mean to, nobody's misfortune, but I just, you know. it's-
The next piece we're gonna put in the committee. Number 13. Okay. Number 14. The ordinance amending chapter 2-6 of the city code of ordinance to adjust nuisance calls by feeding animals.
I can talk about it. There were several discussions within the administration, what to do about not just the feral cats, but the issues that come when people are feeding animals, at their home. And based on that, we drafted a section, to be included to basically, it doesn't prohibit people from providing any food, drink, water to, any companion animals. But if such activities, do cause a nuisance, to any property owner, or otherwise damage or interfere with their use of their property, they can seek a private, cause of action based on that.
Why couldn't they have done that before?
I think you need to explain it a little further and a little more in layman's.
I'd like to put this in committee anyways, if we want to have a committee
little-
meeting on it.
A little,
but I won't be
Bob,
voting on it
I have the
tonight.
floor, but a little more in layman's terms, meaning that if
So-
the property owner
so-
was to feed a
so-
cat,
So for example, if.
use that as an example, because I think that
So,
that makes a little more sense.
Per Ag and Markets law, you are allowed obviously to feed animals. If you don't feed them, there is some language in there that it may be animal cruelty. Based on that, we don't want to prohibit anyone from, if they choose to feed feral cats, if they choose to feed dogs, whatever they may be, companion animals, they can continue to do that. However, if those activities become a nuisance to neighboring properties, other property owners, or causing damage to their property, the neighbors have an opportunity to seek a private recourse of action against that person.
Well, it makes sense.
Meaning that the property
So-
owner next door.
They're
Can I have
using
the-
my yard as a
Bob?
dumping ground for their animal feces. After a while, just do a civil suit.
Right. But
Councilman
my
Beatrice?
question is here, and believe me, I went through this whole thing this is great, but my question is, what stopped the people from taking somebody's civil action on them
Nothing.
before? They
Nothing.
could have did it
They've
before
had that-
anyways,
They've
right?
had that right,
Okay, so we're just putting it in writing?
yes.
Okay, okay.
Okay, we'll put it in
So-
committee.
All set? Go on then.
And it's not on the agenda.
Other people's ordinance. Okay, let's move on.
Number 15, to rescind the resolution number 5 of 2024 approving the granting of permanent easement to National Grid or National Mohawk or Verizon at Utica. So we're just gonna rescind that and,
Yes, so Nick can speak on this further, but essentially, they found a new place, for their, new, cell tower. So it no longer required them to put it up, within, Roscoe Conkling Zoo area. So based on that, we're rescinding the ordinance that granted them the easement in the first place.
Okay.
Does the cell service work? And the other town?
New Hartford supposedly upgraded their towers, so you may have cell service over there.
You got it, Joe?
That's good.
I drove down on 9th Street and got what I was talking to. I'm not quite sure if it cut out or.
No, very
Really
good.
wanted to talk to me.
I would say the
Didn't
latter.
we talk about that last year, and everybody was
Yeah,
trying to get a phone?
well, actually, Schumer's office did contact me.
Didn't they
And
just
he
put a
did
cell
contact-
tower in?
He did
They got,
contact.
they got reception over there.
He
Yeah,
contacted-
they did put another cell tower, it's just not where,
We originally were
Correct.
gonna propose it.
So Schumer's office did reach out to the business owners that he did go have the press conference in front of. Actually, one of my friends was a business owner in that district, and she ended up having a fire at her place and had to go across the street to call 911 because she didn't have the cell service at her business. So hopefully, if she has to utilize it again, the cell
She
service
called
would
me
work.
from-
And so he's contacting her. I haven't heard back from either party, but hopefully at next time we have an update on whether or not that's helped them. Thank you.
Okay, very good. We have the next proposed ordinance, number 16, is, looks like the sale of surplus equipment, and there's quite a list. Do you want me to read the list?
No. Only question that I have, Mr. Chairman, may I have the floor? And I'm sorry that I'm talking a lot today. I haven't seen you guys in a little while. Who are we disposing this to? Is there a course of trying to resell this stuff, trying to recoup some money, or are we just disposing it and that's it?
the legislation gives the option that if it is enough that it can be salvaged and sold, they will do that. If it's not, it'll be disposed of in a mechanism as deemed appropriate or sold and.
So who
for
is
parts.
it now being sold under?
DPW's got it all under there. It's all at DPW.
No, I get that, but like, who's the marketing person
I-
to actually sell that?
I don't know, I don't
It's
know.
like one of the Oneida County auctions.
It has not, because we did not renew that agreement. So I don't mind doing this, but I'm gonna actually ask to have this put in committee, just until we have some clarification on how we're disposing it and who, if we are reselling it to, who do we have in that realm to sell it and so on and so
It's gotta go
forth.
through auction, so.
But that's what I'm saying, so who's our auction person now? Because I know that the police department actually goes through a certain company. I'm not sure who DPW and Parks goes through.
It's the same that we do for the city.
Right, but that's not, we didn't have anybody for the city at the last time.
I know
we
that
went
they've
through that.
used Facebook Marketplace, I know that there's been a number of things that they've used in the past.
So I didn't know, maybe the police department could actually sell this stuff through their person?
I think it's all through it's all through the same.
It's not. So the police department has their own separate person that they use, what is it, property.com? And they use property.com, so that's what I'm saying, instead of us of just disposing it, we're actually utilizing our options. So maybe utilizing what the police department has and going through property.com to dispose or sell of those might be an option that we can possibly do. So, I mean, I know that's a responsibility that I'm putting on your department, Ed, but, I mean, I think that would probably be the most responsible thing to do. I know that we're just in the process of getting our purchasing department together, but I don't wanna lose full value of what we can, knowing our budget situation. If we can get an extra couple $1,000s out of something, that's what we should be doing. So, I just wanna ask to put this in committee. If we have to have a special meeting, we're just 2 weeks away. Maybe figuring out if the police department can actually take on the responsibility to sell these on behalf of Parks and DPW might be something that we can do. Would that be something that you guys would take on if that's possible? If it's possible. Okay, so then we'll keep that in committee and just see if we can utilize that as if you guys don't mind keeping it in committee until we can figure that out. Oh, 100%. He's worth $100 million. I'm waiting until we're in a huge budget deficit before we sell Mark. But that would be the only thing that I would.
I guess just to clarify, if you're just looking for clarification as to what the process is, but as far as the ordinance goes, that is the ordinance. I mean.
I know, I get that, but I want clarification of who we're utilizing. And if the police department's our only person, I'd rather wait to get clarification on that before we actually go and just dispose of the properties. So,
Okay,
just so I
well,
can get some clarification
we
on
can
that.
place that in committee and
Thank
have
you.
a committee meeting. Number 17 is sewage. Ordinance amending section regarding sewer rentals.
So I will speak on this. So there's been a lot of confusion, during budget season thereafter regarding the sewer rents. I have gone back and forth with, the water authority, and we have been trying to figure this out so we can get the correct numbers. When this was initially brought before the council, it was the, mayor's intent to increase it by, 6%. The first pieces of legislation that got sent down, no one was aware of the actual numbers of what prior legislation was. I don't know if that's due to,
You shouldn't go on eco, just go to the original document.
well, regardless of that, it looks like there were changes made, which I believe were, through no fault of anybody, but when we passed budgets, they were being increased, but the actual legislation was not being amended to reflect that. Regardless of that, the rates that are currently being charged are based on a ordinance that was passed in May of 2017. The correct numbers from both the water board and the administration have all been compared, and the correct numbers are reflected in the proposed ordinance that you have here. We have gone back and forth to try to figure out how the numbers got all messed up, who had what ordinances, but I believe what I think was happening is we were increasing based on not having the actual ordinance change, but just adding it in the budgetary process.
So what's the original cost? It says right here, it's a hundred.
So the current rate for the first, for 1,500 is 2.207. Then it's 1.843, then 1.540, and then 1.252, and then 0.847.
What percentages is that increase?
So that is not the increase. That is what's currently in the last ordinance that the sewer, the water board had, and that we could find through the clerk's office. That was the last time an ordinance was passed. So those are the numbers reflected there. When this was initially sent down, the mayor was looking to raise it by 6%. The 6% numbers are what's in the statute, or the proposed ordinance, which is the 2.339, the 1.954, and so on. Those are the correct numbers. All of the old numbers reflected old sewer rates. It's not correct. I have confirmed that what is being charged is those first set of numbers that I gave you, and the increase would be what's currently set forth in the ordinance.
So let me ask a question.
Okay.
So has anybody been charged more or less than what they needed to be charged
No,
compared to
right
the
now,
sewer rates
no,
that we
no,
put
no,
up?
No. Right now, everyone is being charged.
What the original budget amount that we passed in February? Is it? Because that needs to be clarified. Because when we actually went through the budget amounts, we compared those numbers to what was actually budgeted for. So I want to make sure that those that are being charged are not increased any amount than what we originally passed in the budget. So, because this is, again, not a me problem, this is whoever else didn't find this error for the fourth time that we're now voting on this. So I think that this needs to be clarified, whether or not that people are getting raised more of a rent than what we actually passed in February. And I'm trying to find those original dollar amounts because
I didn't think we did it until April.
So I don't
We
believe.
did do it in April.
So I just want to clarify. I believe the last sets of numbers that we've been using are still old numbers. We were bringing it up to the, I believe, when I looked at the last ordinance, I think we brought it up to the 2.27, which is not correct. That's what's currently being charged.
So the numbers you read to us, those five numbers, are
What was the starting number?
2.207.
Correct. That is what is being.
That's what we're currently being charged,
Correct, and what we've been charging,
right along.
right along.
Even after we put in April, because we put the
That's-
wrong numbers in.
Correct.
So Bill Morehouse had explained to us when he was here, as far as collecting sewer rents, it was still back to that 2017 number, even though that they raised the rents in 2019. They
So-
never charged them. So what are the rates that we're charging right as of now?
As of right now, the
No,
two,
what year was the last ordinance that we had?
May of 2017.
So the last ordinance on E-code, and I just want to make sure that this is clarified, was last updated. So we've got to make sure that we're not on the 2017, because we just went through this with budget season. I'm pretty sure I was with Councilman Bitar, and we compared those numbers very specific to make sure that we were not in any difference in comparison to what was being charged to the residents and what the actual budgeted amount was for. So that needs to be clarified. And I've got to actually get some, I want munis printouts, I want what the comptroller's office has been collecting, and I want something from the budget director's office stating what the actual amount is now and what it will be changed to, if there's any dollar amount in the amount of money that we're collecting, or does it just need to reflect what's in here before we pass anything? So this is gonna take some time. Again, another committee meeting item, and Stephanie, I appreciate your explanation, but this is something that we're now voting on 5 times, and I refuse to vote on it a 6th time.
I understand
without
that,
getting more information.
and I apologize for the confusion. It's been a lot of back and forth with the water board, trying to figure out what these numbers
Yeah,
are,
and
and getting an
actually-
answer has been somewhat confusing because.
The next meet, and to reflect that, I think that this is a confusion from both the past budget and this current budget, and trying to configure those numbers for the simple fact that we've been collecting money from 2017 that was supposed to be updated over the past several years and have not. So the water authority needs to be here, the comptroller's office needs to be here, and the budget director needs to be here. And those numbers need to be compared, because I refuse to vote on another piece of legislation without everybody sitting in the room and knowing that those numbers are accurate. Because this to me, this is getting to the point where I'm not tolerating this anymore.
And Stephanie, also, I want to see what the percent increase on each step is here
Well,
as
that's
well.
what
So I don't-
it's the 6%.
So-
Well, I want to see it because the people who did, once this gets put into records, the people should see what a percent increase it
It's
is.
the
So
6%.
it is 6%.
Well, then put it on there.
Okay, so I just want to clarify. I think some of the problem, which was happening the first time, is we were calculating. Someone was just doing 6%. We weren't actually looking at what was actually being charged and using those numbers. Someone just said, we want a 6% increase. We took the last numbers that we had, and that's what we
Who
did.
decided that?
This was not me. Again, I'm trying to resolve the confusion with the water board and get the correct legislation that has been done.
Basically trying to say that the water board should be explaining this, it's their fault, they should come down. and
Yes,
explain this.
exactly. So we,
She's trying to be polite about it. I sat in meetings and listened to it, doing the same thing,
You-
but now I can tell you that the water authority should be down there explaining.
exactly. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
Okay, so we're gonna place this in committee.
No, you've sat through how many meetings of us trying to explain it? I mean, it's kind of gets to the point where they've got to come down here and explain
They're
it.
upstairs.
And I
She's
need
down
to
there.
Because we've gone through these numbers. We have not changed our budgetary amount. Have we collected any more in sewer fees? No, we have not done that. But we have to have the legislation reflect
Are we
correctly.
paying more?
You're gonna
they
be
charging
Again,
paying
I
us
just,
more
more than
right
let
this.
me clarify. I just want to clarify. Nothing has been changed. The rates that everyone is currently being charged is from 2017. The mayor, when he first came down here, asked for a 6% increase. He did not realize when we did all this that he did a 6% increase on numbers that were totally inaccurate. He didn't do it on the numbers that we had. So we've been using old numbers.
And the reason for that stuff is because they went on
I understand, but I,
and they got those informations with
Okay,
E-code
okay,
has not been
well-
updated since 2015.
We'll just,
The last
we'll
update
just
was
put this in a
2012.
committee and we'll talk about it in a
That horse,
committee.
Right.
And the water authority needs to come down
Yeah,
and explain.
Right.
we'll
And I wanna
do
see
that.
some
Along with the
percentages.
budget director and along with the comptroller's office.
Okay, so we'll schedule a committee meeting for the 18th at 5 o'clock?
I mean, I think we need a committee meeting at 4 o'clock, considering all the pieces that we
Well, 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I don't care, I'll get here at 1.
Well, I can't be here at 1, I
No.
have to work. I wish I had a 1 o'clock meeting in July.
How about 4:30?
Well then,
Can we do 4?
Melissa, put 4:30. Next committee meeting, our next, what date is it?
September 18th.
18th. 4:30 committee.
Tried to hold out.
No.
Well, we can have that in the same, committee. We don't have to call it separate. If we have a committee meeting, we can talk about anything in
If
committee.
we got time, we'll do it.
Okay, so we're having a committee meeting 4:30 on the 18th, and now we're gonna go on to piece number 18.
And actually be calling like the normal way legislation.
Okay, proposed ordinance number 18 is an ordinance authorizing encroachment into Broad Street Mohawk for signage.
I saw this in zoning. I don't like it.
Now, where did this come from?
So I can talk on this. So People First is in the process of finalizing the work that they're doing on the building at the corner of Broad Street and Mohawk Street. They are planning to add signage for the property. So they needed to go to both Scenic and Historic and Zoning Board for approval of the sign. Both boards did approve the sign. However, their approval was contingent on the Common Council authorizing permission for the encroachment. So the sign comes out, I think it's plus or minus 4 feet approximately onto the city right of way, I think. A couple inches?
I thought it was just 6.
It might be 6 inches.
4 or 5 feet being the road.
Yeah, I think it's a couple inches. It might be, I think it's 6 inches. On the corner of that piece, as part of the approval for being allowed to have the sign there, they would obviously indemnify and hold the city harmless.
I gotta be honest with you, I kinda wanna see what it's actually gonna look like on the building. Kinda have some
So I have,
reasoning from the police department, fire department, whether or not they could see that with a fire truck turning around the corner, so on and so forth. If they can see it with a city vehicle, if they can see it with a regular vehicle, because I mean, it looks like it's not much taller than the actual sign. And if it's gonna go all the way down, and that's gonna be a hazard, I wanna see their plans originally, other than what's given to us, and have them come explain how they're doing on the process. So-
they may be here for the 7 o'clock meeting.
Okay, well, I'd rather have them at the 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock at the next meeting.
Right here, when it talks about Council District 1. Council-
No, that's the law, that's the, change to the, election law.
Oh, they put it on.
Yeah, they put it on that one, so that's totally separate. Yeah, if you can have them come at the next meeting and just give us an up-to-date process and how they're doing. And I kinda wanna see what it looks like on the building and make sure that we have the input from other departments to make sure that that's okay. I know that zoning and scenic and historic approved it.
I just wanna clarify, it's not gonna be on the building. I believe it's a freestanding sign.
I thought that was it, when I saw the actual original zoning plans that they had submitted.
What?
The freelance sign not attached to the actual building.
It is, yeah.
So that's not in here. Because it looks like it's actually attached to the building here.
It's not, it's a freestanding,
Yeah, but if you look at this, it looks like it's actually attached to the
So-
building.
So I guess to clarify, I mean, there's not a very big window for them to put the sign, which is why they're seeking, why they sought a variance, number one. And why they're seeking permission, because it overhangs onto the city right of way.
Yeah, I
I'm
hate
pretty
it.
sure the
I hate
city
it.
right of way abuts
I hate
their
it.
property, other than,
Yeah, I don't
a
like
couple
it.
inches.
Yeah, I didn't like it when I saw it.
Warehouse, that's the name?
I don't like the name, I don't like the signage, I don't like any of it.
I don't know if that's,
I believe it is, yeah.
so.
I'd rather think they could come up with a better design, maybe on the top of the building, not coming along the downside.
So again, just for clarity, both zoning board and scenic and historic approved, they did.
That's awesome,
So we can place this in committee, and we'll talk
Please.
about it on the 18th at 4:30.
thank you.
And I know there's a piece we have to pull out of committee.
Ordinance 3.
I don't have a number on it, but it's about the local law to establish the boundaries of the council districts in the city of Utica.
This is gonna lay on the table for another 7 days since it was amended since the last time. So I'd like to just, at the meeting, make a motion to lay it on the table, call for the public hearing, and go from there.
I believe it was a,
We already tabled it, I thought.
I thought it was amended and tabled. There hasn't been any changes, we just were waiting on the final map.
Yeah, but if you're attaching the map, is it different than the one that we received? Because I'm pretty sure that the
So-
boundary lines changed from the original
So-
map that was attached.
So to
I see, no, I see that, but it was changed from the original maps when we laid the local law on the table.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
The map you see down there was a result of a inquiry made by the Corporation Counsel's Office some time ago about districts and the Board of Elections. That was reviewed by me, and I went to the Board of Elections and told them the map had to be reviewed once again by the Planning Board of Oneida County. That's who's been assisting me in us on this project. They prepared and reviewed the whole matter, and that is the map. I thought we were going to have individual maps, but that is the map that they prepared and put on that phone board to let you know what the districts are in conformity with the local law that you're being asked to adopt. I can't emphasize more strongly that this local law has to be adopted by this council, because it has not done what it should have done 10 years ago. Now 10 years almost gone by again, and we haven't had any serious inquiries from anyone, thank God. And I don't think there's anything further to do on this than that which we have done. We redistricted the individual councilmatic districts concerning to all of the data again, which is accumulated by the Planning Board of Oneida County, and has done this every time I've ever been involved, and that's over 26 years. I must congratulate and thank the Commissioner of the Planning Board, who has been very cooperative. The County Executive also entertained my request to make sure that their county offices would get this done as soon as possible, as we're running out of time this year. That's number one on that matter. I strongly urge you to adopt it. Number two, I'd like to say one more thing, because I was talking to Mr. Brown about this cable contract. And I said, and I think I've told you before, we have to have a public hearing. There's also this matter about whether we have to have a civic committee or not. Well, I said to Mr. Brown, I was thinking of preparing a resolution appointing such a committee. And he said, well, we can't do that because we don't have a contract and they have nothing to review. Agreed. Then I said, what about the public hearing? He said, well, I was going to have a public hearing ordinance for you for the second meeting of October, because that has to do something with the contract dates. Again, Mr. Brown says, well, we can't do that either because we don't have a contract. Evidently, the cable company has not been that communicative with the administration. And because of those two duties are our duties, and I wanted to know that I'm not neglecting our duties, I'm just telling you that we cannot perform that which is impractical. So I will keep you informed on that as Mr. Brown and I go forward and see. In fact, there is a suggestion that we might follow Syracuse, who just did this, and they did it without a commission, and they also did it on a negotiation, because you can't change the rates. That's not something the Common Council can do. And so, in fact, when you look at the contract, it's very little that you can do. So, if anybody inquires about that or it comes up, I want you to be informed, people, that the Common Council of the City of Utica is more than interested in this matter, and will do its required duties if and when they arise. That's all I have on that. Thank you very much
Judge.
for your time.
Judge,
Councilman Williamson?
no, he wants to ask about something different. I want to ask
Guys,
about the
we have
spectrum.
a council meeting at 7 o'clock.
I know,
but-
Rock,
and
but
we
these
gotta
are
start
not, these
right
are
now,
not my
but
rules, though. So I only get so much time to have everybody in the same room.
We got around
and
5 more minutes, and we're gonna start it.
No, I get that, but that's not a me problem. That's a them problem. So the only thing is, Judge, here's the only question that I have. As far as the last time that we did this and we negotiated a contract with, I want to say it was Time Warner and then transferred into Spectrum, we were able to negotiate amount in our budget as far as the amount of money that we received from them a year.
I don't know anything about the budget.
Okay, so that's something that,
I don't know what the present administration did about the budget on that. I don't.
well, we were here, so I'm just,
Because that's really not, I'm only concerned about what our duties are. I was informed by Mr. Brown about our duties, I was aware of them, and I have a stack of data that I think of it's all federal FTC regulations, and I shared all that information with them. And so we've done our research. Until the cable company comes forward and tells us what their contract is, there's not much more we can say. And of course, you have to understand that there are other areas, the Board of Education, I would think, is interested in this matter, but that, I don't.
to make sure that they still
represent them, and
save a
what they
channel.
do is to-
Well, we worked hand in hand with them last time, so I just want to make sure that we stay up to date on this and.
We're doing what we're supposed to be doing at this stage. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay,
I got the last day round and we gotta stop. So, it doesn't affect me or the other at large, but can we get the both commissioners to come in here, like a committee meeting and say, hey, this is what affects you. That's what I'm saying. It's gotta be explained because this map I'm trying to see, you know, and it's kind of vague. Like I said, it doesn't affect me. I'm only bringing this up for the individual districts. Can we get the commissioners to talk about it?
So,
I mean, just put it in committee unless we get the commissioners.
we can talk about this in the next meeting. So
Also-
let's have it at 3:00.
so I think what Judge, I just want to clarify, I think what Judge was trying to say is the more this gets delayed, the more problematic. We've already put this off for a long period of time, that the more we push this off, the worse it's gonna be. So,
I don't want to push it off, but we finally have the map, so now I think we can finally have that meeting.
We can have a special meeting, we don't have to wait.
No, if you guys are okay with it, it affects you guys.
Well, it affects,
I,
You guys understand what you're losing, what you're gaining. That we did before. You're done with it.
so if you guys are okay with it, then why can't we go forward with it?
We can.
Are you okay with it, Councilman Urban? Councilman B, Tara? If that's the case, we're gonna vote on it tonight, and we're gonna be done with it.
And the last pieces, we have to pull out a committee tonight, ordinance 3 and 5 for the URA property sales. Just a reminder.
and 19.
Yeah, it's not changing.
Okay?
We have a 5-minute recess, Mr. President?
Yes, you may.
I appreciate.
I'd like to call the meeting. Do I have a second? Thanks.
to order. The city clerk will call the roll.
Aiello, Burmaster, Batar, Carcone, Irvin, Beatrice, Williamson, Colosimo Testa, Lometico, Giruzzi, all present.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for the deceased members of the Common Council. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Does the chair hear a motion and a second to dispense with the reading of minutes from the previous meeting?
I'll make the motion.
We do have a public hearing tonight. No one has signed up to speak. Sale of 909 Saratoga Street and 19 continuance portion of Cornelia. There are people signed up to speak on the, there was nobody signed up to speak. Public comment period, you're allowed 3 minutes. Brian Lazar. Brian, the Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, public comment period. Are you in agreement?
Yes.
Please state your name.
Brian Lazor.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Utica starts with you, and I want you to look at each other while you're sitting there tonight while I speak, and think about those couple words. My name is Brian Lazor. I'm from Lazor Photography. I've struggled with my mental health for the past 20 years. I'm a combat vet, and I've lived in the shadows. Last year I took up photography and started my own business, and I started giving back to the communities. I work with Utica Royalties and the Veterans Outreach Center, and I've seen a lot of great things happening in the city, things that I didn't know. And I got to thinking, you know, with change in the city, why does that have to start with you? And I didn't know how to address or how to go about it, so I figured I'd come to the meeting tonight and see what you all thought about changing Utica's slogan to Utica Begins With Us. I don't feel that, you know, it's a you thing. Everything's a us thing in Utica. And there's great things going on in Utica, great people that I've been seeing, and all the positive stuff I see through my lens. As I do street photography, public photography, with my clients, with the youth program, with the Veterans Outreach Center. And I just see great things in Utica, and I know it's such a small thing, but with small things, positive things can come out of that. And I think, you know, it'd be a good impact if we look at perhaps changing our slogan, and that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Sam Nasmos.
I've already got my answer from Councilman Beatrice.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Bob Hines.
Trying to respect everybody, but I'm walking.
Bob, the Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, public comment period. Are you in agreement?
Yes.
Please state your name.
Robert Hines.
Thank you, Robert.
We had a great historic home on Clinton Place that my wife inherited, built in 1873. Way too much for us. We're both almost 80. It took us 5 years to sell it. We sold it, and we moved to the Landmark Building. And love it, love being downtown, totally different neighborhood. So out our window, constantly I'm looking at the Liberty Bell Park. And I knew that the former administration was doing something there. They did a great job on it. If you haven't spent time there, grab a coffee, afternoon or morning, and just spent some time there. So I'm there middle of May, beginning of June with my wife, whose family had the first president of Old Schuyler and you know, related to the Proctors and so on. And I said, hey, you know what? The Liberty Bell's gone. And I didn't know if the Liberty Bell was coming back. And I don't think it was coming back because the park was pretty much done. And I read to her the plaque that's on the Hotel Utica, because we walk that way all the time with the dog. And I said, hey, you know, this guy Lafayette was here, I believe, June 25th, 10th of June, 1825, right there. And so what was Lafayette doing at that time? So this is on, down at Bag Square, there's a great scenario of a lot of pictures that were put in that tells about Bag Square. And it actually should be made by Michelle Truitt into a little monograph, because it's a great, so there's one there, 1825, General Lafayette. General Lafayette came to the Mohawk Valley to visit the sites where the battles of Oriskany and Fort Stanwix took place. He came to Utica via Whitesboro, Oriskany, and Rome. The dirt road that they traveled over was named Rome Street, but the name was changed in honor of Lafayette's visit and has been Lafayette Street ever since, which I look at every morning and night. His carriage was driven by Theodore Faxton. Lafayette was feted at a reception breakfast at the Baggs Hotel. The rejoicing crowds at the occasion were unbelievable, loud, and welcoming. A hand-painted sign that read, "Welcome Lafayette," how about that, was hung from the hotel's front door. He stood on the steps of the hotel and reviewed the military parade in his honor. And I think one of the things, I know that the DAR is working on a festival for, I believe it's scheduled for June 10th, 2025. And so as my wife and I were sitting there, we debated. And I said, what about calling it Lafayette Square, since the bell is gone? And she said, no, Lafayette Park. And I said, yeah, but you've got Oneida Square, and you know, Lafayette Square just gives a sense of place, a name to it. And for crying out loud, the guy was there, and it's really part of what our history is. So I did get in touch. The plaque was put there some time ago by the DAR. And the plaque says, by this highway, June the 10th, 1825, General Le Marquis de Lafayette, who I think was probably 22 or 23 at that time, entered the village of Utica in commemoration of the visit and in grateful recognition of his unfaltering zeal in our war for independence. This tablet is erected by the Oneida Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution, AD 1897, and it's still there. So, you know, I kicked it around with my wife and said, oh, let's do Lafayette Square. So I got in touch with Common Council. I did send a letter out or email. I actually wrote a handwritten letter the other day, first time in 20 years. But I sent the email out to the Common Council, to our district, and to Mark, and to everybody, recommending that since you've got the jurisdiction on it, to change the name from Liberty Bell Park, since there's no more bell there, to Lafayette Square, in commemoration of him and the 200th anniversary of his being on that street. And one of the things that the DAR got in touch with me on, they have the head of the Oneida Chapter DAR is called a regent, and there's a vice regent. So Trina DeFranco is the regent who's working with the city and with the Bicentennial Lafayette Commission. And let's see, Leslie Brainey is the vice regent, and she's working on it. So one of the things that they sent to me, and I'm just about done, is she sent to me a list of the people that are working on the Bicentennial Committee of Lafayette. There's 29 different people and organizations involved in it. Some of the people are Joe Bettini, Oneida County historian, Frank Tamiano, Oneida County historian, Lou Parada, an incredible high school teacher, the Lafayette's Farewell Tour, American Friends of Lafayette, the Oneida Herkimer County's Bicentennial of Lafayette's Farewell Tour, and it goes on and on and on and on. So I'm just, you know, hoping that you would consider changing the name. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. We have no communication from the mayor. Report of city officers. We'll start with Deputy Chief Noon, Fire Chief.
Nothing to report.
Stephanie DeGiorgio, Corporation Counsel.
Nothing to report.
Deputy Police Chief Noonan.
All set, thank you.
Brian Thomas, Urban Renewal.
Nothing to report.
City Engineer Nick Breidenbecker.
Nothing to report.
Mark Sokolowski,
I
Deputy.
have the Liberty Bell and nothing to report.
You don't got nothing else.
And our Budget Director, Alamir Koltak.
Just some things happening. We just recently hired a purchasing agent that's gonna start at the end of September, beginning of next month. And at the same time, we hired a consultant to kind of improve the inefficient purchasing process that we've dealt with for several years in the city. So I'm excited about that. The auditors are scheduled to come in October to start the last budget year audit. And in the works is also an extensive capital plan. Some of those things will include police patrol vehicles, ambulance re-chassis, police barricades, fire medical equipment, and additional vehicles to meet the needs of when vehicles are down for repairs or anything like that. So that's all.
Thank you. Miscellaneous Communications, cash report.
The City of Utica report for July 2024 totals $33.357 million received and filed.
Petitions, sponsorships, and appeals. First District Council Member Katie Isle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to recap about a month ago I was contacted by tenants at Brandegee Apartments about the conditions they're living in and the concerns they have. So we've been working closely with them, and I just want to thank and commend the administration. We had a meeting last week. The mayor was there, spoke with everybody. Codes Department's been working with them closely, and hopefully we will be getting some better situations going for where these people live. And that's all. I just want to give an update on that and thank the administration again for that. I'm all set.
Thank you. Second District Council Member Majority Leader Robert Burmaster.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have nothing to report.
Third District Council Member President Pro Tem Joseph Vitar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to thank everyone for coming tonight, watching online. Other than that, I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Fourth District Council Member Frank Carcone. Fifth District Council Member Ben Servant.
I just want to thank the police department and DPW like I always do. DPW crews are out there on time, doing everything they need to do in District 5 and the parks and everything. And I know this don't have anything to do with anything, but I jumped into the fantasy league, football league yesterday. And one of the girls that on my job came up to me and said she got an A rating for her choices. So I went to look mine up and I got an F. So now I think I got to take tomorrow off at work. But there's a lot been going on in District 5, but unfortunately everybody's doing it at Proctor Park and not Kimball Park after we did all the renovations. So I'm just sending a message out to people, please start doing something at Kimball Park. That's what we renovated it for. Thank you.
Thank you. Sixth District Council Member Joe Beatrice.
Thank you, Mr. President. First thing I just want to talk about is we have a lot of paving going on in North Utica on the main streets. So the traffic, even intersections where we normally have traffic, it's backed up. So I'm just asking people, just be a little bit patient. You might not realize it, that it's where it's coming from, but it's progress, and they are going to be doing it nighttime, so that should be a little bit better. But the North Genesee Street thoroughfare there is, with the thruway and 790 ramp closed, it's backing things up more than it normally is. So it's not because they put a light there, it's just because of the paving that things are going to be a lot better. But just please be patient over the next couple weeks. Next, I want to talk about the party in the park and thank the police and the Parks Department for great job cleaning up. And I know there probably wasn't a huge crowd because of the weather, but I was by there the next day. Everything was cleaned up. Getting on to the parks, we haven't had a meeting in a month, but we've had a couple bad storms. Parks and DPW, great job through the whole city. You've came back, you've made special pickups. I know I've reached out to a lot of yous with people with branches out and stuff, you know, and they had to pick them up, and yous did a great job. So I just want to make sure I thank you. And lastly, it's kind of a somber note. A week ago tonight, my father-in-law passed away, and he was a mentor to me. He was a great man. He worked for Coca-Cola for 41 years, and it's kind of funny, I worked for Coca-Cola for 41 years too. He had a tough month the last month, and he's in a better place, and that's all I want to say. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Council member at large, Minority Leader Mark Williamson.
Yes, just to piggyback off Mr. Hines, I hope you all vote for this and approve it, because Marcus Lafayette was part of the American Revolution in France, has been our friend since the American Revolution. So I envision, hopefully, at that bicentennial is the start of a French festival, because I don't think France has a festival here, or French people. So hopefully, this is the start of the French festival, starting next year. I envision French flags and American flags all down there. All right, that's all I have.
Thank you. Council member at large, Samantha Colosimo Testa.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say that the Lord's Bazaar this weekend was a great success, and I got to give a shout out to the police and fire department for always volunteering. Even the retirees come back and they help make that a success, along with the volunteers from Our Lady of Lourdes. You know, fulfilling that duty each weekend is very tough, especially on Labor Day, to take that time away and dedicate it to that. It always becomes a success from everybody's help. So thank you for that. School started this week. It's been a seamless transition to start the new school year. I noticed that a lot of the properties that are normally not taken care of around the school district were taken care of, and it's very nice to see that the kids walking to school have that opportunity to see a clean environment around them when they do go and you know, go to school, and they don't have to worry about filth on the side of the road. So I don't know if there was a coordination between codes and parks and DPW and police or whoever, but thank you guys. The city did look good in and around the school district. I want to briefly talk about the passing of a former principal of Columbus Elementary. She was a high school teacher of mine. We did mock trial together. She was a mentor of mine for a long time. And it was a very unfortunate situation that unfolded over last weekend. So I want to give my thoughts and prayers to the Columbus teachers and the school and the children, the students that go there, and I wish them well in their weeks back, and hope that, you know, they can recover to a point that, you know, I know nobody will be able to fill Beth's shoes, but hopefully they get to that point where they can continue to build that friendship and that family that they have at Columbus. The other thing is Labor Day. I know that the weather was terrible up until the point. I live near that neighborhood, and I saw the streets getting flooded, but I do have to say I saw the police department out in their ponchos. I know that the Parks Department was up, and everybody put the signage out. You know, Vince Gleese did a wonderful job maintaining that. The fireworks were beautiful. I get to watch them and enjoy them from my backyard. But everybody did a job well done, and I'm glad those fireworks were able to continue, even considering the weather that unfolded. So thank you to the Parks Department, Police Department, Fire Department, and everyone that's usually not normal to take, not used to taking off their Labor Day weekend for the rescheduling of the 4th of July fireworks. Thank you for taking that time off. And last but not least, I have to wish Tammy Sokolowski a very happy birthday, because I know she's watching with the other Mrs. Sokolowski. So that's all I have today. There's two Mrs. Sokolowskis, but happy birthday to Tammy. Thank you.
Thank you. Council member at large, Jack Lamedico.
Just thanking everybody for coming today and everybody listening in, and my condolences, Joe, to your family and to the principal at Columbus. And ditto on everything else, and thank you.
Thank you. A motion to introduce proposed resolution number 1.
Motion?
Second. Authorizing sale of beer and wine to St. Anthony and St. Agnes Church. Name of sponsor, whereas the sale, name of sponsor, St. Anthony and St. Agnes Church. Event, St. Cosmos, Damien Feast, Saturday, September 28th, 2024, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday, September 29th, 2024, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. St. Anthony and St. Agnes Church, 422 Tilden Ave, Utica, New York, 13501. Your votes, please.
9 yeas adopted.
Motion to introduce proposed resolution number 2.
Motion?
Thank you.
Commissioner of Deeds, be it resolved that the Common Council does hereby approve the following person eligible for the appointment of Commissioner of Deeds in and for the City of Utica, New York, within the term ending December 31st, 2024. Nedman Muchik, 1004 Dudley Ave, Utica, New York, 13501. Votes, please.
9 yeas adopted.
Motion to introduce proposed resolution number 3.
Thank you.
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
Commissioner of Deeds, be it resolved that the Common Council does hereby approve the following person eligible for appointment to Commissioner of Deeds in and for the City of Utica, New York, within the term ending December 31st, 2024. Ingrid Quisino, 919 Cherry Street, Utica, New York, 13502. Votes, please.
9 yeas adopted.
Motion to introduce proposed resolution number 4.
Motion?
Second.
Thank you.
Authorizing sale of beer and wine to Taylor and the Cook. Be it resolved the permission to sell beer and wine and exemption from the provisions of Section 21543 regarding open containers of alcohol beverages is granted to Taylor and the Cook, New York State Wine Spotlight, Sunday, September 28th, 2024, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Bag Square Tavern Park, 301 Main Street, Utica, New York, 13501. Votes, please.
9 yeas adopted.
Motion to introduce proposed resolution number 5.
Motion?
Second.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Authorizing sale of beer and wine to the Bank of Utica. Be it resolved, permission to sell beer and wine and exemption from the provisions of Section 21543 regarding open containers of alcohol beverages is granted to Bank of Utica, FX Matt Brewery, Bank of Utica, New Year's Eve, Tuesday, December 31st, 2024, 7 p.m. to 12:30 a.m., Wednesday, January 1st, 2025. Genesee Street between Devereaux Street and Bank Place, Utica, New York, 13501. Votes, please.
9 yeas adopted.
Motion to introduce proposed ordinance number 6.
Motion?
Thank you.
E&A transfer 2024-2025 fiscal year be it ordained that the city controller is hereby authorized and direct to make the following transfer. Votes, please.
9 yeas adopted.
Motion to introduce proposed ordinance number 7.
Can we do a full council on that? Everybody want to do a full council on that?
Okay.
Second.
Can I say something before we vote?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. When I saw the name of this person and that he was involved in the Revolutionary War, I did look into his background a little bit just to make sure it wasn't going to come back to bite us if he had slaves or anything like that. And it was clean, so that's why I'm going to vote yes on it. But I didn't want it to come back to the council if he did have something like that and we had to pull what we're doing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. An ordinance to rename Liberty Bell Park to Lafayette Square, whereas the Liberty Bell Park is located on Lafayette Street in downtown Utica, and whereas this plaque commemorates the visit of General Marquis de Lafayette to Utica on June 25th, 1825, whereas General Lafayette played a crucial role in the American War for Independence, whereas a bronze plaque donated by the United Chapter of Daughters of the American Revolution in 1897 is located on the corner of Lafayette Street and Hotel Utica Doubletree Hotel, whereas the renaming the park would honor Utica's rich history and create a meaningful connection to this significant event, enhancing awareness of Utica's historical significance for both residents and visitors, whereas the renaming would provide the opportunity to celebrate the upcoming bicentennial of General Lafayette's visit to Utica on June 25th, 2025. Now therefore it be ordained by the Common Council of the City of Utica, New York, Section 1, the park currently known as Liberty Bell Park, located on Lafayette Street in the City of Utica, shall henceforth be officially renamed and known as Lafayette Square. All official documents, maps, signage shall be updated to reflect this change within reasonable time frame. This ordinance should take effect immediately upon passage and publication as required by law. Votes, please.
9 yeas adopted.
Motion to move resolution 8.
Thank you. Second?
Whereas an offer to purchase 123 and 125 Leah Street has been received by the Utica Urban Renewal Agency from Cameron, McLean, and Janelle Gerling. The developer plans to fence for their adjacent property. The purchase price for this property is $251. Now therefore be resolved that the Utica Common Council will conduct a public hearing on Wednesday, September 18th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Votes.
9 yeas adopted.
Motion to commit.
Proposed ordinance number 9.
Motion to commit? Yeah.
Thank you.
Commit. Motion to introduce proposed resolution number 10.
Motion?
Thank you.
Calling for a public hearing on the sale of lot 319.551/2 Pelletier Ave, whereas an offer to purchase the front portion of Pelletier Avenue subdivision consolidation map being created by engineering and new tax ID numbers will be assigned by the assessor's office and be received by the Utica Urban Renewal Agency from Daniel and Maria Cornjo, former owners. Whereas this developer plans to maintain fence and continue using a parking for their adjacent property. The purchase of this property is $650, $250 for URA prices, plus $400 in taxes. Now therefore it be resolved that the Utica Common Council will conduct a public hearing on Wednesday, September 18th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Votes?
9 yeas adopted.
A motion to commit proposed ordinance number 11.
Thank you. Thank you.
A motion to introduce proposed resolution number 12.
Motion?
Calling for a public hearing on the sale of lot 319.55/122. Whereas the developer plans to create additional parking for the adjacent property with his portion. The purchase price for this property is $250. Now therefore it be resolved that Utica Common Council will conduct a public hearing on Wednesday, September 18th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Your votes, please.
9 yeas adopted.
Can I have a motion to commit proposed ordinance number 13?
Second, anyone?
Second.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to commit proposed ordinance number 14? Second. Okay. Can I have a motion to introduce proposed resolution number 15? Second.
Thank you.
Okay. Rescind resolution number 5 of 2024 approving the granting of permanent easement to Niagara Mohawk and Verizon at Utica Zooway, whereas Niagara Mohawk and Verizon are no longer require a permanent easement from the City of Utica, approved June 5th, 2024 by the Common Council for the purpose of providing high and low voltage electric current and for transmission, intelligence, and communications data for the public or private use at 1 Utica Zooway in Utica. Now therefore it be resolved that the Common Council of the City of Utica does hereby rescind the annual resolution number 5 of 2024 granting a permanent easement to Niagara Mohawk and Verizon. Votes, please.
Are you sure? You don't need anything else
Can't.
9 yeas adopted.
Can I have a motion to commit proposed ordinance number 16?
Thank you.
Actually, make a motion to close ordinance 17 and 18.
Okay.
Separate.
Can I get a second on that, please?
Second. Mr. President,
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'd just like to make a motion to pull ordinance 3 from committee. 909 Saratoga Street.
8-7.
Take a motion to introduce proposed ordinance number 3
To remove from committee.
to remove from committee.
Motion.
Can I get a second to remove? Thank you.
Ordinance approving the designation of Melvin Urena as an eligible and qualified project sponsor pursuant of Article 15 of General Municipal Law for the purpose of the sale of 909 Saratoga Street. Whereas the purchase offers for this property has been received by the Utica Urban Renewal Agency from Melvin Urena, and the developer proposes to purchase 909 Saratoga Street to create green space and additional parking for his adjacent property, and the purchase will require a payment of $250. Whereas on September 4th, 2024, a public hearing was held. Further, be ordained that the chairman of the Utica Urban Renewal Agency is hereby authorized to take any and all steps necessary to complete the disposition of this property for purpose. Votes, please.
9 yeas adopted.
I'd like to make a motion to discharge ordinance 5 in committee. We don't need votes on that, right? Yeah. No, that's it. And then make a motion to pull ordinance 19 from committee.
Thank you. Second? Thank you.
Make a motion to pull proposed ordinance number 19.
Second.
Yep. Ordinance providing the discontinuance of a portion of Cornelia Street, whereas the parcel of real property described below has been listed as a city street on the official map of the city of Utica. Further ordained pursuant to section 9.005 of the city charter, the mayor is authorized to sell the property herein abandoned directly upon approval of board estimate. Further ordained that the official map of the city of Utica is hereby amended, and the city engineer is hereby authorized and directed to cause all copies of the official map of the city of Utica and the tax map of the city of Utica to be amended in accordance with this ordinance. Vote.
9 yeas adopted.
Local law.
Want to take a motion to pull it off the table?
Make a motion to pull ordinance, wait a minute, pull number, I don't have a number on it.
Number 2.
Yeah, number 2.
Second.
Okay, pull it out.
Thank you.
Second one.
Uh,
Or second one.
A local law to establish the boundaries of the council districts in the city of Utica. Every vote.
Nine yeas adopted.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Actually, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to rescind resolution number 56 of 2024, passed by the council on April 3rd, calling for the removal of the traffic island located at the intersection of Dunham and Eastwood. So again, the motion is to rescind that prior resolution.
All right,
And Mr. President, if I may be heard,
two things. You actually have to have the actual legislation.
Yeah.
You can't just rescind you can't just rescind a piece of legislation that's not presented, because it's a motion to reconsider, and then you have to have a motion to rescind.
well, the motion to rescind
Right,
can take the
bec-
place. I'm not aware of anything procedurally that disallows a
Right.
motion to rescind to take the place of a motion to reconsider.
Well, because it got passed, so it actually became a law.
So
You
a motion-
can't rescind, in my understanding, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe somebody could touch base on this, but it already passed. So you would actually have to present a piece of legislation and make a motion to reconsider. Then you have to make a motion to rescind.
The legislation already exists.
So because nothing has been done, my understanding is an oral motion to rescind can be made. If we were talking about an issue where some affirmative action has been taken upon, after it's passed, for example, if we're talking about a contract
According
where
to-
a party's been given notice, that might be a different story, but there's, to my understanding, been no action taken on that legislation passed on April 3rd.
Has the engineering department gone out for a bid to remove
I'm
the
going to go
island?
to the judge.
Yes. You have to make a motion to reconsider anything that's already been adopted by the common council. After, then that motion has to be approved when you describe what you're asking to be rescinded. Then after that, when it's reconsidered, because they've allowed you to council's allowed you to produce that as a legislation to rescind that which was previously passed, then they would vote again whether they wish to do that. So there's two motions, two different procedures. Now, evidently, you have a piece of legislation in your district that was adopted by the common council you wish to have reconsidered because whatever was done, you don't approve of now.
So what's he have to do?
Huh?
So.
And
so
Judge, if I may, I'll make the
that's
motion.
all you have to do.
As part of
Is
the
the
majority,
council
make the motion
person
to reconsider.
At large is correct. Two motions. Make your first motion. If your first motion is successful, then you can move your second motion.
Judge, does he need the piece of legislation?
Well, I think that the only problem with this is that all of the other 8 members would probably like to be refreshed of that which they're reconsidering before they adopt the
Does anybody not know what it is?
reconsideration. And do you have that piece of legislation?
The only thing that I have in regards to this, I have no problem rescinding or amending or doing anything along those lines. The only issue that I have is, number one, that the signage is not legislated as of now for those stop signs. The other problem that I have is that they're not ADA compliant sidewalks. With that said, I think that if we bring that back and we bring it onto the table, we're now putting ourselves for liability and keeping that open. So my suggestion to you, and this is just me speaking, and I share the frustration with you because we did pass this back in February. The only thing that I would suggest to you is to wait to the next council meeting, introduce the new piece to reconsider at the next meeting, because you still have to have an affirmative of the people that voted with you in order to even reconsider that. It can't be so anybody that voted no can't make the motion to reconsider.
And that's why I made the motion. As a
Right,
member
so
of
that's
that
why. So like
affirmative
Katie
choice.
couldn't even second your motion because she voted she voted against that piece when we passed it that first time. So, and this is just procedural. I don't. You have to follow. I mean, this is basic Robert's Rules of Order, basic actual piece of legislation. My suggestion to you would be is to have a conversation with the mayor in the next couple of weeks. If you actually want to keep the island up, and I think we had this conversation with Nick, that the correct signage needs to go up. We have to figure out, and I've tortured Ed Noonan about this, our Deputy Chief Noonan about this, that the proper signage needs to go up. We have to figure out if that island's staying up and against our orders as the council. So as of now, my personal opinion would be either the mayor needs to be held in contempt of not following the council's procedures, which I wouldn't go to that extent because I think that we're all kind of on the same page that if that stays, this is something that we have to consider. But nobody that voted against the legislation can actually make a motion to reconsider it. So I would just wait till the next 2 weeks to make sure that this is all followed properly, and then sit down with the city engineer and have a meeting with him and say, if this isn't going to get removed against our best wishes on behalf of the council, we've got to figure out what we're going to do, because the stop sign's not legislated and neither are the sidewalks ADA compliant.
Councilmember, why don't you put in new legislation?
And if I may, just briefly to that point of the councilwoman, I think we're going to have to address the reconsideration and rescinding prior to anything else coming in with regard to signage and whatnot, because it seems like the actual placement of the island is the first priority, and then anything subsequent to that, I think there's a conversation to be had.
Yeah, and actually, the island was put in without any motions or anything to even reconsider.
Sure, and a
So
lot of
we're
this is-
acting on behalf of, and I don't mean to disrespect your motion to reconsider. I just want to make sure that it's followed properly, and I know that there are certain actions that you have to follow, and I want to make sure it's done correctly so that we don't have something coming back up in our
that's
face the next meeting.
Well, that's exactly right. Part of it is doing what maybe the council should have done in the first place, and button everything up procedurally and making sure we're doing it correctly here. So
Right.
again, any discussion of signage and whatnot, I think comes after a motion to reconsider or rescind and handle the island itself.
Right, if we were involved in it from
Okay,
the
guys,
first place, the
we'll
island probably
discuss
wouldn't have
this.
been able to,
We'll
wouldn't
make
even
a
have been in.
motion. Stephanie? Steph, yeah.
I just want to clarify, I think from the administration's perspective, the island is coming out. We're prepared, it's ready to go. I think Nick
Scheduling next week.
is next
Yeah,
week.
that's why he's.
So we're not waiting.
Do I
I
do
just
it or
want to
we don't?
clarify that the administration is moving forward. I mean, these things don't happen overnight that we can do stuff, so, we have an ordinance. I understand, I understand. We have an ordinance that it's seeking to remove it, and that is what the administration is following until something has changed, so
Nope.
I just want that clear.
Well, based on that, I'm going to renew my motion to reconsider and ask for a second from someone who was in the majority on that April 3rd vote.
But did they already go up for that?
I put it out there, it's coming out next week unless otherwise
So then let's-
told differently.
If that's gotta stop first. That's just.
And that has nothing to do with this council in terms of whether or not that can stop within the next week. So again, I'll renew the motion to reconsider and ask for a second based on whoever was in that majority. Reconsider the passage of the April 3rd legislation, which is piece number 56 of 2024.
That you guys didn't care about liability when we passed it in seconds when it got pulled down the floor out of nowhere.
Well, hold on,
So-
hold on.
Hang on for a second.
I thought the...
Hang on.
Mr.
It's not
You have the, Councilmember Bitar has the floor right now. Do not interrupt him, let him speak.
Speaking to liability, I was under the impression it was Corporation Counsel and the engineering departments and the administration's perspective that did not constitute, the air quotes sidewalk under the ADA. It was referred to as a walkway. So if we're concerned with liability for ADA purposes, I don't think it was ever the position of our attorneys, the city's attorneys, that was considered needing to be ADA compliant as a sidewalk in the first place. So if that's what we're talking about, I'd like to hear Corporation Counsel's perspective on whether or not that classifies as a sidewalk or what the position of the administration is.
We've maintained that they are not sidewalks. I can't prevent people from suing the city, but we will address it if that comes about, but they are not sidewalks per engineering and
Yep.
per our.
They're not deep enough to be a sidewalk, they're not thick enough. They may look like it, they are not a sidewalk.
And the only thing, to Councilman Bitar, the only thing that I would say is that there's still the liability of the, and I'll take out the liability component. That the fact is, at the tip of the point of the island, it's 23 feet wide. I just drove down it today. My vehicle barely fit at the stop sign from other traffic
That's
going
not
there.
even true.
So if we're gonna do it, we're either gonna amend it and take out the quote-unquote non-sidewalks and just leave the grass component in,
No.
or move forward.
And we could certainly address that, but again, the first thing that has to happen, in my opinion at least, is this has to be reconsidered, because if the city's gonna take it out next week, what good is a conversation gonna be 2 weeks from now?
I say you call a special meeting in the next 3 days. Get the legislation in and figure out what we gotta do from there.
Motion to reconsider, as far as I know, is still on the floor. If anyone wants to second,
But
who is
I'm
in
not,
that
I'm not gonna
majority.
reconsider legislation without
If
an
I may have
actual-
the floor as well, I just want to remind people that there were 107 signatures that one of the residents there got to keep the traffic island there. And I don't know if people can't get through that. Well, that same person was on air explaining how you can get around cars. I don't know if some people drive a Humvee or what, but I still think that could get through that street. Like I said, the engineering and administration has opinions on what parking should be and be established, and we can revisit that, but
First of all,
the neighborhood there was asking to keep the traffic island, specifically if nothing else, to not waste another penny on it.
well, there's been a
They'd
lot of
rather
money
it go to
wasted.
paving. they'd rather it go to lots of things in their neighborhoods, but that's why this is being brought up again tonight.
I'm not listening, I don't have no idea, because Telcott Road was put in 1832 when the city was established,
Mr.
not
President,
last
if I may,
week.
just one more thing here. To reiterate what Councilwoman Ayala was saying, there's over 100 signatures on a petition calling to not remove the island from people who live in the neighborhood. Okay, live in the neighborhood, who are there every single day.
I don't know, I saw things on there from Victoria Drive. I saw things from different.
Well, I live on Victoria Drive. That's down the street. I walk by there every single day with my dog. So we're also in the neighborhood. But I will say, many of whom take the position, as Councilwoman Aiello stated, it wouldn't be fiscally responsible to spend additional funds on that street when a lot of people take the position that Dunham Road is in disrepair with potholes in the first instance.
We repaved Genesee Street
Guys,
33 times.
Councilmember Bitar.
Sir, he's
has
got a
the
motion.
floor.
So that, Mr. President, I appreciate it. Thank you. That's the motion. If there's not a second, obviously there's nothing I can do about that. But as far as I know, the motion is on the floor to reconsider the April 3rd resolution passed by the council, which is resolution number 56 of 2024.
Is there a second?
I don't understand what.
Is there a second?
Yeah, you can second it. And then it just goes to a vote. Yes,
We got a second, okay.
we have a second.
I'd just like to, everybody say their prayers for the 3 Dallas policemen that were ambushed last week, and today, the incident at the school in Georgia, where the resource office saved many lives, and I hope everybody knows what these policemen go through every day. I should have mentioned it earlier. That's nothing to do with a sidewalk or an island, okay?
Motion to adjourn?
No, we have
We have a second here.
We got a second?
Yeah, there was a second.
Yep.
Votes, please.
That's a second.
Yes means.
Just to clarify, vote to reconsider?
Vote to reconsider.
Okay.
56.
Well,
No, don't play dumb.
that,
Stop stalling. Put your name on
Mr.
the
President,
board.
may I speak?
No, you stop.
Mr.
Yes.
President, yes, may I
Yeah.
speak?
It literally
Judge.
does. You just don't want it.
Judge
Quite-
has the floor.
Quite frankly, this came out about 2 hours ago. So I knew nothing about it. If I knew about it, I would say, if you're gonna make a motion to reconsider, have the legislation to reconsider before them with the motion. Then they can decide whether they want to reconsider that particular legislation. And then you should also probably have prepared a replacement legislation, or you wish to have that rescinded so that a replacement ordinance can be prepared in cooperation with the engineering department, the police department, and all those parties that were involved in the original legislation. Because then you'll see, and also whether the administration is going to back what you're suggesting, financially and otherwise. So you can pass the motion to reconsider tonight and give him an opportunity to present to you whatever is the proposal to replace it. That's up to you. That's a procedural thing. Quite frankly, I don't see why the legislation that he is proposing, that he would like you to reconsider, can't be dug out and distributed to you right now. I mean, what's the hurry? Just give it to him, look at it. This is what you're, you know, you have the legislation. Do you, wait just a second. Do you have in your possession there the legislation you want to be reconsidered?
Electronically, yes.
Huh?
Electronically, yes.
Well, why don't you have her give a copy, give it to her. She'll distribute to all of you so you know what you're voting on, what you're being asked to reconsider. Okay?
Sounds good to me.
Yes, thank you.
Then we vote.
And then you will be informed about where he's going with this.
There's a motion right now.
Okay.
My suggestion would be to call a special meeting. Okay. So
Well, we'll wait until you get the legislation and look at it.
Reconsidering the ordinance that we already defeated, but Dennis and Katie cannot vote on that because they were in the defeating one. So it's up to Bob, Joe, you, Joe, Mark,
Well, I think we
Pete, and Jay.
need clarification on that they can't vote on it or they couldn't second it to begin with.
You can't consider the second, you can't consider the vote on the piece of legislation.
Anyone who is in
So
the,
my suggestion would be to you, like I just said, is to have a special meeting on this piece of legislation where you have all parties available.
Is that true that?
Huh?
Once it's reconsidered, I can't vote on it?
Pardon me?
Because I voted no the first time. I can't vote at all now during the reconsider.
The motion to reconsider, you gotta have the legislation to ask them to
I know it, but
reconsider.
I voted no the first time.
Doesn't make any difference.
Right.
On the se-
But
af-
this time-
After it comes out the second time, anybody can make a motion.
So I can.
It was voted.
Right, so I can vote though for this reconsider.
You sure you can. Everybody can vote.
Even though I voted no the first time.
Doesn't make any difference. The second
I
time,
can't pull it out. I can't forget.
the motion to reconsider at the first time at the meeting needs a motion from the person who voted in the majority.
Judge.
That doesn't apply here.
Councilman Juritzi, Council President
Look, the
Juritzi, what is
motion-
the motion right now to reconsider?
second.
Reconsider.
So the only people that can.
Let the judge speak, please.
A motion to reconsider at the meeting in which it's being reconsidered cannot be reconsidered unless a person who voted in the majority is the one making the motion. After that, anybody can make a motion to reconsider that which you have previously
I can
passed.
vote, Venice can vote.
So that's what's in the rules. So, once you have the legislation before you, and you wish you to reconsider, you can make a decision whether you want to reconsider it. And if you don't want to reconsider it, you vote no. If you do,
So we have
want
a
to favor
mo-
that,
and
you
before
do,
we go
vote
through-
yes.
Okay, so we're gonna have a motion.
It's been made.
Yeah.
I'll take those votes down.
It was,
Obviously, the president, councilman, are you prepared
We're
to
gonna take a
discuss
motion on the
tonight, or do you wish to wait till
If they
another
vote
meeting?
no on it, then
yeah, but I thought that's what we're doing right now.
we're doing it right now, but we don't need the legislation.
You'll have it in a second.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got a question.
Guys, listen, we're gonna vote, we're not gonna. I know, what's the question, guys? A lot of your questions should be.
Well, I haven't spoken a whole lot.
I know.
All right? Comparatively speaking.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have a meeting every 6 months.
All right, you can have a meeting anytime you want.
Go ahead, Councilmember Lumedico.
Here's a question. If I vote yes on this, to reconsider it, now that doesn't mean that we're gonna leave it the way it is. Does it mean we can make it smaller? What's it, so we take it again to decide if we're gonna make it smaller or leave it the same?
I mean, I would.
Stop, please.
All you're doing
Is to
is
stop it
reconsidering
from
that
them
which has
taking it
been
down right
adopted.
now.
Right, and then,
That's all.
and,
You're not doing anything besides that. It's up to this councilman, at the next meeting, if you vote to reconsider, allow him to present something else, it's up to him, the next meeting, to present to you whether he wants to replace that with something else. Fine. But that's,
Judge.
that's
Judge.
something he has to do.
Very quickly, why would I vote to reconsider something when I don't know what he's gonna bring? Why wouldn't you wait till we showed the new proposal and
It's just-
then vote to
That's,
this?
that's not for discussion.
Councilman,
Right.
listen,
I'm sure it's not removed.
because you said within a week they're gonna take it down, so you make your
What?
I
best
just-
educated decision right
I
now.
just want to clarify, I think what
We could vote then.
Councilmember Bitar was saying was that he wants to make a motion to reconsider and then he wants to rescind what you passed. If you rescind what you pass, it is up in the air. You can make a determination to do whatever you want with the island thereafter. That is what he is asking for these. So he's asking to make a motion to reconsider and then a motion to rescind what you passed, which was to remove the island. If you vote to rescind that, there's nothing in place, removing the island or doing anything to the island, it's in place.
We're not
exactly
doing
right.
that. Not doing that tonight.
I understand. I'm just
So,
saying that that is what,
Let's
that is
just
what's
stick to the
proposed.
single
Let's just
issue.
stick.
So again, you
Guys.
have a special
Yeah.
council meeting, if you really want one.
But we have it, it's right here, you got,
You have a second motion?
The whole point is, it's at risk of being removed completely. The administration's ready to, so
comments.
that's.
Let's just
Well,
have the
they-
votes to reconsider.
We have another meeting in 3 days.
But we're not doing that. Let's just vote, guys.
I take, call for a vote,
Why is my name
It
on this,
is.
only me?
because you're the one that originally proposed it. Not Councilman Beatar.
It's just the certified copy, so I'll just adjust.
So,
Okay, can we take the
it's
vote, please?
just this is the vote, we've been
This is
voting
the
on the
vote
same
to
thing.
reconsider.
Yeah, this is the vote to
Why
reconsider.
do we have to-
Ordinance removing the traffic island at Eastwood Ave and Dunham Road. It's been erected at the intersection. Whereas the traffic island was erected without police or engineering study, have been submitted to the common council. Whereas there have been multiple complaints from residents, school, guys, can you stop? Multiple complaints from residents, school bus drivers, and others stating that the construction of traffic island was ill thought out and could be dangerous. The design could lead to a great deal of driver confusion when and if the Utica experiences a major snowstorm. Ordained by the Common Council of the City of Utica that the traffic island constructed at Eastwood Ave and Dunham Road without the benefit of a traffic study, police, engineering department, presentation to the Common Council be demolished and eliminated, returning the roads to the original configuration immediately. This is a motion to reconsider. This is your vote for it, to reconsider.
Number 6, number 4.
Because before I vote, I'm going to make a statement on it. I'm going to vote yes to reconsider. But Joe, you didn't talk to us about this week before we did this. I will vote no, I will vote to take it down again if you don't come up with something to make it smaller or to change the size of it. So I'll give you the benefit of the doubt right now, but in the next meeting, you gotta come up with a plan to make it smaller, or I'm gonna get rid of it again.
Well, I will say this is quite similar to how this came out of committee in the first place when I wasn't notified about it. So I
I'm
just want to
checking,
make that point.
but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt right now, but I need to see a plan by the next time we vote on this, or we're gonna get rid of it. All
Can
right?
we have the votes, please?
Any four?
Number 4.
What do we vote?
To reconsider.
Vote to reconsider.
5 yeas to reconsider.
Perfect. What's the special meeting?
Motion to
It's
adjourn.
gonna be out right next council
We
meeting.
have a
You better
motion
vote.
to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.